Kenneth,
Yeah.
when you talk about, I've heard you say this before, it's seen that there never was anyone. There never,
Mm.
you know, and that includes everything. Um, there's just, well, first of all, it's not understandable.
Yeah.
I'm aware it's not understandable by the me, but I'm also, there's just this thing of, okay, so the whole, every story has to collapse then, because there's no one anywhere at any time doing anything. And it's like, I notice the mind keeps wanting to grasp about how about this, how about that, how about this, but it's like, it's just like, it doesn't go very far, because if there's no choice at any time, well, I notice I said at any time. Anyway, I don't know. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So there's a sense of being separate, apparently, and then that sense of being separate can, let's say, collapse. That's just a word as well, or whatever. You could use different words, and none of them are really accurate, but they point towards it. So some people would say, would kind of describe it as kind of apparently dropping away, or melting, or whatever. So the sense of being, just that sense, that really lived sense of being separate, just is not there. It's just not there. You don't feel like you're talking. You don't feel like you're hearing sounds. There's just the immediacy of what's happened, hearing sounds, speaking. There's a thought. It no longer feels like your thought. So on, all of that. And what's very clear is there are no separate people anywhere. There's no such thing as a separate person. So it's not that, oh, the sense of separation dropped away for me, and that's great for me. But this person's still separate. That person isn't. This person is. That person is. That person. It's not like that. With that sense of separation apparently collapsing, what's immediately clear to nobody is there is no such thing as a separate person. It just does not. It doesn't. It doesn't exist. It appeared. It's an appearance. So then what you have then is people reporting themselves to be separate to you. They will speak to you like, oh, I don't know what to do with my life. I'm kind of at a crossroads. I think I've done this, I've done that, but I want to bring my life in a different direction. I'm just randomly saying stuff. But then it would be clear from that sentence that they feel that they have a life. And you would go, okay. But what's very obvious is there's just a character there talking. Speaking is just happening. And it's in that way that, and this is very consistently expressed through people who talk about this. It's in that way then that immediately, obviously, there's nobody to help them. There's nobody who is separate, who needs to find wholeness, because all there is wholeness. And in that wholeness is the arising of an apparent separate person. It's all an appearance. So there can only ever really be, there can't be a teaching, any kind of authority, any kind of guru, any of that. That's all a story. But sometimes there's just a sharing, that's all. It's from nothing. And it doesn't matter if there is or there isn't, by the way. There's loads of that kind of apparently fall away, and they have no interest in saying anything about this at all. And that's totally fine. And with others, there's just a sharing. And that's all it is then. It's just a sharing that's heard as it's heard. Does that kind of answer what you were saying, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was just last night after yesterday's classes, I was visiting with a friend, and there was just a noticing of this is that it was automatically all happening.
Yes.
And it felt very familiar. It felt very familiar, at like going over old territory, and there didn't feel like, and it didn't feel like there was a choice there. It was like, oh, this is, and before it would have felt like, oh God, it's, all that jargon, but
all that jazz.
yeah, all that junk. Yeah, it was like all that junk, but last night, I don't know, there was just something about it. Felt like there was this movement happening, but it didn't feel anymore like there was that there was a story of two people and how they relate, that whole thing, and everything.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like there was choice. That's what I noticed, that there was any choice. Yeah. It was just happening,
Yeah, and what it is also that certain aspects of this will be obvious to one character more than another, So you're saying that there was no choice. For someone else, what the first thing might be that there's no meaning in anything. That could be the first thing that's very obvious. So on. So it will be there's also sometimes there's a sense of separateness apparently falls away, and it's like a day or two before someone can say, hang on a second, there's something different and I can't put my finger on it. I've also heard that there's something, I can't say what it is, but there's something. And then when it kind of tease it out a bit, it's like, oh, okay. All right. There's just what's appearing to happen. I don't really feel like there's a me anymore. So it could be that subtle as well. So it can be, and it could be anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We hear more about the kind of explosive kind of thing of this wow kind of thing, but that's just, it doesn't have to be anything. Can be very, very gentle, can be very, and it is always about something very, very, very ordinary. It's so ordinary. I think that's the most consistent kind of feedback about the wow part of it is the wow, how ordinary it is. That's really, you hear that an awful lot of people just completely flabbergasted and floored by how ordinary and obvious this is. It's just whatever's appearing to happen.
Yeah, and then I noticed with that conversation last night that there was always something is wrong with this. There was always this sense that I don't know how else to put it, but this is just not quite right,
Okay.
Whereas it was just it's just what's happening. I mean, if there's no right, wrong, separateness, choice, all that, it was just like watching it happen, including the uncomfortable stuff, sensations that come up. Anyway,
of course, yeah.
No.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was chattering going on, and but it was different in that manner. It's like, this is it.
Yeah, and that's the way it is. Like, there's just speaking there now. So there's just speaking, there's just voice, there's just kind of head moving, there's just the sensation of sitting on the chair, the whatever. There is no you in there doing any of that, and there never has been. So nothing would even really collapse or change or anything really, because it's all artificial anyway. So it's kind of the end of something that never even really started. But that's so impossible for the person, because the person's mind moves in beginning, middle, and end, and something happening. And it is like the person is that sense of causality, one thing after another, after another, after another.
The whole idea of it being linear, that really resonates, because that is what it feels like, linear. The story, and sometimes even in the morning, it's like the story starts. I don't know who said it, but it's like a building block thing. It starts to come in. The story part starts to come in. Oh,
yes,
remember,
yes.
It's just like, oh, okay, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is helpful. That is helpful.
I love that you call them classes. Yesterday's.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
That's lovely. Yesterday's classes.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I noticed there's a meeting,
It doesn't
gathering.
matter. No, who
I
cares? Who
know, but
cares? It's just so
meeting,
lovely though.
gathering, message, illumination.
I
Someone
know
is like
what you even.
searching for the right word.
Yeah, I
It's
know, I
like
know.
it's the right word here to use here.
Yeah, I
And
know, I
that's
know.
just an activity that happens. It's just
Yeah, of course, yeah.
you know. Anyway, so
The
yeah,
only thing that the one word that can never be let go by this here is when someone says it's a teaching. So I was listening to your teaching and I was like, oh, okay, let's just no. It's not a teaching.
yeah,
Anyway, it's just
yeah,
yeah. Thanks a million, Patricia. Nice to speak to you.
yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Couldn't we say, you know, when we're looking for this or looking at this, that we're thinking about it, but like thinking about it is the very thing that's kind of stopping it. Would it be fair to say that it's more of a seeing? What sees, I don't know, but it's more of a seeing than an understanding or a thinking about it. That actually.
Oh yeah. Did I say think? What is it that I said that you think I said again exactly?
No, I'm just. This is. I'm not relating it to.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's nothing to do it's nothing to do with thinking whatsoever. I mean, it's absolutely nothing to do with understanding. So that's when I say it's nothing to do with understanding, that's what I mean, is that it is absolutely nothing to do with any kind of concept that can be held in the mind at all. Nothing. What's being yearned for.
Yes.
Because anything you can hold as a concept is simply that. It is simply a concept.
Yeah.
So what's being shared here and what's being pointed towards, or whatever language you want to use, is completely beyond the mind.
Okay.
So when people feel like they have some understanding of, people say, oh yeah, Kenneth and these others, yeah, I know, yeah, I heard it, I know it, yeah. It's rubbish, rubbish, because I don't know it. Anyone who's clear, any character who's clear where this has been expressed does not know it.
Yeah.
It can, if it comes from knowing, energetically completely different. Because then it is that I know something and I would be decimating that information to you, and then that's all just within the story then of understanding and knowing, because that's what the individual is.
Yes.
Is a closed loop of knowing.
Yes.
So anything, once you feel that you have a grasp of what's been said here, you don't have what's been said. It's not graspable.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not graspable. It's absolutely beyond understanding and absolutely beyond knowing.
Yeah, that's the weapon that most people would use.
Yeah.
That come to it with the
and makes complete sense, because that the individual comes to everything with knowing and understanding, and that's just the way the whole thing functions.
Yeah.
Like it's completely, totally, like any suggestion that, of course, the person is going to engage with just trying to understand what's being said. So there's no kind of movement to, you need to not try to understand what's been said or anything, because what would that be about then? But what's said is, and it's usually at the beginning of any kind of sharing, not always, but nearly always, is what's said is there's going to be there's a suggestion being made here.
Mm-hmm.
That suggestion is this is an open gathering. Yes. In which all are welcome. Okay. It's shared in open friendship, right? There's no exclusivity here. It's wide open. And if there's a question, boom, it's there to be asked. You can't ask a wrong question. You simply cannot ask a wrong question. It can't be done. It cannot be done. The only thing that could happen is there's someone who comes in with aggressiveness or whatever. That's completely shut down then, because it's not, that's something else then. That's fine. But that obviously that won't be entertained. But but if there's a question about you cannot go wrong. It's impossible. You can't. And you can't go right. Because there is no right or wrong. So this is the whole energy of this sharing, is that there's a question, there appears to be an answer, and what's being said very clearly, very openly, is that it's not about an answer to the question. It's not about you being clear. It's not about you understanding anything. That could happen. Yeah. You could think you understand any of that could happen. Or you could have concepts about the way life is, and they could totally collapse. Like you could have strong beliefs about, we're in Ireland now, so let's say staunch Catholic kind of stuff that's very rigid. It could totally collapse completely. It could just be seen to be completely empty. That's not a goal of this. And it's all comes back to a resonance. And when I say, that's what I mean when I say a resonance, it's all energetic. This is completely energetic. And that's because that sense of being separate is energetic. So that sense of being separate there can be a resonance, and that sense of being separate can appear to collapse. And that's nothing to do with understanding at all.
And that resonance in comparison to knowing, is it a felt thing in the body?
It's a felt thing, yeah. It's completely, it can be only in the body, in the sense that there can be, so I have seen it where there's not even a kind of intellectual thing going on. It's actually just in the body. I've seen people just physically, just the resonance of this being almost a physical, just shaking. And and it couldn't even, I've seen people who couldn't even speak. They could not even formulate a sentence, because whatever openness was there, it was just absolutely explosive, and they just couldn't even just barely formulate a sentence. And I'm just giving you an idea of how it can be.
Wow.
And then you could have total closed offness to this. This is fucking rubbish. This is bullshit. How can he fucking prove this shit? How can he prove this? Who says this? Who says this? Who's verifying this? What scientists are verifying this? This is nonsense. Do you know what I mean? I'm just giving you an example. And both are just simply energy. And there's no differentiation here between one or the other. It's gorgeous. It's so gorgeous, because it's just a sharing. And someone we could all say, oh wow, this was just this. I can't put into words. Or else everyone could say this is a load of bullshit, and it would be no difference to this. It would be okay.
Yes, yeah.
And it's so wonderfully free in its sharing, because we're so accustomed to an agenda. We're so accustomed to being offered something and spoken to, whatever it is. And that's just the way it is. That's not right or wrong either. Well, I know what's going on with you. This is what you need to do.
I get that carrot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And some resonate with us more than others, you see, like, and it's our sense of yearning and incompleteness. We feel somehow unworthy and incomplete. And so when we're told, when you get your diet down, when you cut out the sugar, when you get, go completely vegan, and when you get your exercise, and when you really get fit, and when you get the breath work down, and when you get the meditate, then you'll be there. Then you'll be there. And that's lovely to the person. The person loves that, because they always want to be nearly arriving.
It's an exciting place.
It's an exciting, and it's a hopeful energy. Again, we're kind of coming back to what we were talking about earlier. It's a hopeful energy of something, then I'll be there then. And it's when, and there can be then just this openness or sensitivity to that. There's something in that. I'm always just, it's always just outside my grasp. Like, why is it just outside my grasp? Like, why is it just around the next corner? Why is that? Like, what is it about that? And there can be just this openness to, and then this can just resonate. And go, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck, there is no next corner. There's no next corner. There's no next corner. There's nowhere, there is nowhere to get to.
And no one looking.
And there's no one looking. There's no one to get there. And it's the most amazing, freeing thing. It's total and utter freedom, complete boundless freedom for nobody.
It's amazing.
It's beyond words. It cannot be.
Get it? Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Hi, Kenneth.
Oh yeah. Hi, Nikki.
So I don't know. I like this word, crisp.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just a description that just popped into my head of like just, I don't know, maybe you're saying full, but to me, the vibrancy or the aliveness just seems crisp.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that. Yeah.
Or, and I maybe then the phrase crisp, clear or crystal clear, it's like it's now being seen more clearly because I don't know, just it is. There's just the crisp.
Yeah, no, I like, yeah, crisp is nice. Crisp is a nice word. Yeah, totally. I mean, when we were talking earlier in that story of describing the individual like a veil. So there's just what's seen, and then there's this kind of really, really thin veil, and the veil is the me or the individual, and then the veil is no longer, it's whatever. Yeah. So you're seeing the exact same. It's the exact same, but it's crisp.
Yes.
It's somehow different.
Yeah.
It's somehow different, but it's not different because it was always just what was seen anyway. It was always like that. And when it wasn't, it's what's recognized is that it wasn't crisp only because there was this veil, and even the veil is just a story. Even the veil is just a story. So it's that sense that of everything is suddenly boundlessly free to be as it is, because it's not imprisoned, apparently imprisoned in that subject object reality. And if it's in that subject object reality, it's not crisp, it's dull, and it's kind of, it's secondhand a little bit.
It's it's dulled down by a story or a projection or some sort of, like and a question being asked is not any different than a leaf moving or a toddler screaming at a temper tantrum.
No, it is of no significance at all. It is, the way you put it was, a leaf stirring in the wind has as much significance as someone asking a question or an answer that comes from here, because in other words, nothing has any significance or meaning. Only the thing we would give it, only the significance we would kind of lay over it.
Which the word that comes up is innocent, or like it's all the same thing, I guess. It's all the same energy.
Because it's all the same, because it's one. It's just, there is only one energy. There's not two, and it's not even energy is just a word. There's no thing is everything, and Advaita means not two. You know, not two, which is a nice way of saying one. It's kind of, what it's saying is that this can't be said really. So instead of saying one, it says not two. You know, it's this. It's never not this, because there's only this, and this is nothing being everything. And it's in that way, it's completely inescapable. What's yearned for by everyone who feels separate is just simply whatever's appearing to happen. It cannot be escaped from what they're yearning for.
I love this. It's so like with the message is boundless. It's not, but
Totally.
I understand that the personal energy or the filter would views it as, oh yeah, like you said, it can do a million things. But and the story of Nikki at one point was just completely devastated and suicidal. Really, upon hearing it,
Yeah.
apparently. But
Yeah, that's what appeared to happen there then.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
But
can be all sorts of reactions, apparent reactions to hearing this. There doesn't have to be anything.
Yeah.
There doesn't have to be devastating. Some people just, this is heard and there's no, it's just, wow, you know, it can be any kind of way. But it's mostly rejected and mostly rejected.
Would you say that this seeking is rejecting it?
You see, the person isn't being spoken to. So the person is of no consequence. When I say the person, I mean the individual. So the individual isn't being spoken to here at all because the individual can't hear this. It's impossible because the individual can just be an individual. That's all it is. So the individual can do nothing. You can do nothing but reject this, really. That's all you can do is just reject what's being said in many, many different ways. Like you can also, it's amazing. You could reject this by agreeing with this and saying that you believe it. You could actually reject it, what's being suggested, by kind of knowing it and integrating it into a kind of paradigm or a concept.
Yeah.
You know, so there's many ways to do that. But the individual can do nothing but reject it, really. It cannot hear what's being said because the individual can only be an individual, you see. The individual, it's not, so there's no sense of speaking to an individual because I can't see any individuals, whether it's here in the room or it's virtually, it doesn't make any difference. There's nobody, I'm not speaking to anybody because there's nobody to speak to. There's just energy. And then it just resonates. There's either an openness to that or there isn't. So typically in any kind of meeting, there tends to be that there's some sort of resonance with it. It's resonating to some degree. And simultaneously then it's being rejected and pushed away. And that's why some people, like, it's very common for people to have a sense of being almost like, I'm completely resonant. There's a resonance. It's just amazing. And at the same time, I really want to go out that door. I really do not want to be here. And it's amazing because they feel very, you know, both at the simultaneously.
Yeah, push pull. Push pull.
I suppose it would be ambiguous, you know. They feel both equally. In the true meaning of ambiguous. Or push-pull is probably better said. It's a push-pull. And for some, it's more one than the other then, obviously. But it's not, it's not unusual for it to be both. Both can, like it can be, one can be nearly, they can be almost appear to be the same strength, you know, just a resonance, and also just like, oh Jesus, get me out of here. You know, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, the edginess or the risky or the unsafety that you were talking about, really, that's it. It's like,
oh yeah.
Even like I was swimming in a lake. There, I don't know. There's just there's more of a, it's apparent that everything is very, it's not startling, but in its,
No, there is when there's no longer a sense of being, it is dangerous.
Yeah.
Because life is dangerous. Of course it is. But when you feel like a person, this is what that whole safetyism is all about. You feel very safe in the bubble of you. And you're protecting yourself from what you feel is a world outside of you. So you do that through your kind of negotiation with the world, and it's in that safety, and that's half alive. That's a half alive thing. And full on aliveness is edgy, is dangerous, because it's full on aliveness, isn't it? Yeah. So there you go. And that's free fall. Like the free fall is this, it's full on aliveness. It's full on aliveness. I mean, things could apparently happen that are uncomfortable, that are painful, that are upsetting, that are any, you know, that's just aliveness then. It's kind of like the individuals, like you know, these hermits, or, you know, an extreme example is like one of these arachnophobiac, is it, or what's the term? It's someone who doesn't want to leave the home. Like that's just if we want to push that example of what the individual is to a more extreme, just to illustrate the point, it would be the person who's very safe at home, works from home, gets their groceries, their shopping delivered to the house, and doesn't leave the house anymore because it's dangerous to leave the house. I could get hit by a car. I could get struck by lightning. Agoraphobic. I'm saying that wrong, am I? Agoraphobic, yeah. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of like how it is a little bit. And then the person kind of feels that logically, and this makes total sense, that life starts outside your comfort zone. You know, there's intuitively, it's kind of felt that if I go to the edge of my comfort zone, I'm more alive, because I'm not playing that game as much of me in my safe bubble.
Yeah.
So that's what you see then, is people doing that, is trying to push, and they do feel more alive. They do feel more like, okay, I'm terrified of being on stage. It absolutely scares me so much, but I think I want to do it. And then they do it and they feel completely like they're going to get sick with nerves. And then they do it and it's like, oh my God, that was amazing. And they feel more alive.
Yeah.
You know, and it makes sense, you know. Or it's the same thing with the vulnerability, the Brené Brown stuff about vulnerability. It's lovely, of course, it makes sense. You know, the more I'm willing to feel vulnerable, the more alive I'm going to feel. And then there's this communication, which kind of blows all of them out of the water. You see, because it goes to the root of it all. That's the thing of it here. It just goes to the root of it all and illuminates that it's all about this sense of feeling like a separate you. And you're not there. You never have been. So this bubble of you, it's all a story because there's no you to be in a bubble. And then the adventure. Then the adventure really starts. You know, then there's just living in the unknown for nobody, and it's indescribable.
Well, and then you're making me think that that when the unknown, living in the unknown, then without the sense of somebody who has free will or choice or can do something about anything, there's not any more of that real strong mental chatter that's taken seriously. Then it's almost like this intuitiveness. It's like things are obvious that go that way or that way. So
it is much more, and it is much more like that. It is much more like that because there's not this endless looping. Oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? Is that the right decision? Is that the wrong decision? That all totally collapses.
Yeah.
And there is much more of a kind of a sense of, you know, there's a draw towards this, there's a draw towards that. There's a sense that I'm not sure that's kind of, you know, whatever. Much more, of course. Yeah.
With that, this confidence almost, or like maybe a natural, it's like simultaneously, I don't know, and yet there's an intuitive knowing that
there's just an intuition. There's just more intuition rises, whereas for the person, intuition is it's like the individual kind of suppresses intuition a little bit, because the intuition is so much, the person, the individual is so much kind of operated, the control center is kind of so much in the brain that like it's all of this mind chatter so much that it almost kind of overlays intuition a little bit.
So with that, then there's not as much doubt with the collapsing of the.
Well, I mean, you could still say, like, I mean, anything could arise, like doubt could arise or whatever, but it would just be a thought that would be arising.
Yeah.
But there's what would be gone would be the sense that, oh, you know, I've made this decision, and because you don't feel like you're making a decision.
Yeah.
And so there's just what's appearing to happen. So there wouldn't be that sense of, oh, okay, that was all terribly handled and I should have done this.
Yeah.
Now, there could be a scenario when it looks like that, but what would be seen by nobody would be, it couldn't be any other way. It couldn't be any other way. Like the sense that it could be this way instead is just seen to be just an idea. So no matter how, no, it doesn't matter if things appear to work out or appear to not work out or all of that, because they're not really working out or not working out. They just are as they appear. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, but that neurotic kind of second guessing, always not sure that thing is, it doesn't occur as much. Although I guess you could, yeah. I mean, who knows? Anything could happen. But it seems like that.
Yeah, you can make what you can do is you can kind of make some generalizations. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
About say what it's like when you no longer feel like a person. But that's all. That's as far as it goes, though. You can't. Once you start getting into it's like this or it's like that, and it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe I can't say what's gonna. Like if someone was here at the meeting now and was to kind of say to me maybe tomorrow or next week or whenever, God, I think they would say to me, well, I don't feel like a person anymore. They would not be able to describe that to me. They would not be able to describe it. It would be impossible. They could not describe it. And they couldn't describe how life is for them. And they couldn't say, and anything could appear to happen. Who knows? But it wouldn't appear to happen for anybody. That's the difference.
Yeah, yeah.
So that stickiness and everything, there's no stickiness then anymore. There's just the immediacy of what appears to be.
Yeah, you can't hold on to, because the time thing isn't there, so you can't hold on to. I mean, a memory about it could appear of, oh, that thing happened, and
but of course, it's the same, but it's not described. You can't describe the difference. Nobody can ever describe the difference between like, oh, it's my memory and that really happened, and there just being the memory. Nobody can describe the difference. It's impossible. It's totally impossible. It's completely impossible to describe what it's like to not be a separate person. And it's absolutely ordinary. It's just so ridiculously just ordinary and obvious. and there already is no separate person. Like nobody here is attending the Zoom because there's nobody. There is nobody already. Even though some people here might say that, well, I'm still a person or I feel like a person. They might say that.
Yeah.
But that's fine. You know, that doesn't matter. But that's all well and good to say that, but like it does matter to the person. Do you know what I mean? If you feel like an individual, it very much matters, and it very much is, and it is an agitation and a huge sense of unworthiness and a huge yearning. It is. So it's in that way that it's just been illuminated and shared that, well, there's just this.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Kenneth.
Thanks, Nikki.
Hello, Kenneth. It's Christiane.
Christiane. Bonjour. Bonsoir.
Perhaps my internet will cut because I'm trying to put Wi-Fi. So
yeah, it sounds much clearer than yesterday. So far so good.
Yes, yes. Good, good. I'm performing. So I like to perform. I feel like an individual in a person, and sometimes when I associate a person with that is negative, and resonance as positive, and intuition as positive. So, but sometimes I feel so much fear in life because I'm comparing myself. So much fear that it's overwhelming, and it's like an energy. And if I just feel that intense energy, it stopped, and I don't remember why I was so fearful. It's just intense fear or intense joy, and I can't relate it to something.
Yes,
So,
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's lovely.
So resonance is so full, and when I'm feeling as a person, it's so full. I don't remember why. But I still make a link between resonance is good and fear as an individual is negative.
Yeah, so that's obviously a story though. So it's
yes,
just
yes, I know.
Yeah. So it's also seen there. From what I hear and what you're saying in that is that it's also seen that neither is positive or negative, because positive and negative are just a story. So it's anything that you describe is just simply what it appears to be. It doesn't have a positive or negative to it, attached to it.
No. Just feel the sensation of fear or resonance. It's so intense. I can't talk about it. It's just
it cannot be. It cannot be expressed. It cannot be expressed. No. It's impossible. No. And so you could the trying to express it could happen, which is gorgeous. It's fine, but it's still just words. It's inexpressible. It's inexpressible.
Yes.
Like for 12 apparent years, Kenneth has been apparently sharing the inexpressible, and he never thought he could say it. So it's not expressible.
No, because
it's not expressible.
I can't
it's
touch
just
it.
No, you can't, because there's no you to touch it. It's just what's appearing, and it's also inescapable. It's completely inescapable. So like the person would feel that they can have things, their own things, and if they have it, then and immediately in the grasping of it arises the fear that they're going to lose it. And this, what's been shared for the last 2 days, is it's ungraspable, it's unobtainable, it's unknowable, and it's inescapable.
Yeah. But I think I like stories.
Yeah. Stories are stories. Stories are fine.
I know I tell a lot of stories, and I like to lie, to amplify the story.
Yeah, a lot of people do. They like to kind of sprinkle it with something, a little bit of something. they like to kind of jazz it up a little bit. And a lot of people have no problem. A lot of people don't have no problem with that because I think they intuitively know it's a story anyway, so they can just add a little bit of flavor to it.
Yes, it's a game.
It's a game, yeah. It's just a game, yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you. So what's yearned for is just what's appearing to happen. It's very simple. It's very ordinary. Whatever is appearing to happen, sounds, sensations, a thought, an emotion, there's just energy. Energy is nothing being everything. And there is no you in there anywhere, and there never has been. Thanks very much. It was really gorgeous the last 2 days. Really lovely. If, as I was saying earlier, don't hesitate to email or to phone. I'll have that number up quite soon. And, you know, it should be July, August are kind of funny months, but other than that, there'll definitely be a kind of time period in which it should be a bit easier to get me. And then some people these days kind of like Zoom a bit more. So, you know, anyway, you can just get in touch, and if you want to talk, it's there. That's it, really. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
The real and the unreal. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon, okay?
Thanks, everybody.
And I'll get the I'll get these recordings out a lot quicker this time. Don't worry. So I'll send you an email.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.